Hey everyone, this is the Love of Cinema podcast. We like to talk movies. If you like to talk movies too, you come to the right place.
I would love to watch that journey, like how we saw Mohanlal's journey
Yeah, from
through
her
and through.
perspective.
I would love to see it because now we get to only hear of it. We get to only see it through whatever little that she's telling us. But her journey is also so interesting, and her journey, how they both that one day changed the lives for both of them. They both got together at a very different point in their life, and from very different backgrounds, and how that one meeting, how that one consummation that kind of just bound them for life.
Good films often stay with you. Great films do one better. They keep bringing you back to them. This is Himanshu, and you're listening to the Love of Cinema podcast. Padmarajan's 1987 Malayalam classic, Thoovanathumbikal, is the kind of film that will keep bringing you back to its fascinating characters, its timeless moments, its haunting background score, a film that hits you differently at different ages. But before moving on, an important reminder. If you enjoy organic conversations centered on Indian cinema, Love of Cinema podcast was created for people just like you. So if you find value in the podcast, if it helps you in discovering new films or new facets about familiar films, do consider supporting the show. Love of Cinema podcast is my passion project, and with every episode, I've attempted to create something that cinephiles will continue to find value, not just today, but over time as well. To create something that goes beyond banter, beyond trending films. So if you find value in conversations on the podcast, please do consider supporting the show. Your support will help me continue creating content with shelf life for fans of Indian cinema everywhere. You'll find a link to support the show in the show notes. You can also support the show directly from the podcast website. It's fast, it's easy, and your support is greatly appreciated. Independent pods like this one don't have a platform for amplification and distribution. Independent pods rely on amplification through its listeners. So if you like the episode, please share the episode on social media, as that will help other people discover the pod. Delighted to welcome Bejoy Nambiar on the podcast today to talk about one of his all-time favorites, Thoovanathumbikal. Bejoy needs no introduction. After debuting with the solid crime drama Shaitan in 2011, he has made some of the more interesting and entertaining films since then, including David and the underrated 2020 action drama Taish. I really like that film. Check it out if you haven't watched it. It streams on Z5. Bejoy also has a new show with Avinash Tiwari in the lead. It's called Kala, and that streams on Hotstar. Coming back to Thoovanathumbikal, Bejoy and I chatted about the complex characterizations, Mohanlal's excellent turn, Padmarajan's craft in key scenes, and the film's timeless appeal. Bejoy also shared an interesting conversation he had with his mentor, Mani Ratnam, around classics like Thoovanathumbikal. All that, and an interesting round of rapid fire with Bejoy Nambiar. Here goes. Hey Bejoy, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me on this.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've been chasing you for a while. Glad that finally we could do this. So today we are going to be talking about, Padmarajan's 1987 classic, Thoovanathumbikal. I want to dive right into the movie, but before that, I just want to ask, why you chose this particular movie to talk about today. Just in a nutshell, to start with, could you share with us why you chose this particular movie?
The worst thing you can ask a filmmaker is to pick a favorite film, because I don't think any filmmaker can really distill it down to one film.
Right.
Because it's a collection of films that has had an impact on you growing up, and if you've been a movie buff and then you're a cinephile and you're on that journey of becoming a filmmaker, there'll be a lot of movies that that shape your journey, and so it's very, very difficult to pick one. So when you asked me, also I gave you a list of 5 movies, but I had like some 10 more. But then to I guess, narrow it down further, this I chose this because uh, I guess this is a movie that I've revisited almost every year, as I do with some of my favorite films. I keep watching them again and again, and it has changed for me. In every viewing, it changes for me. So even now, before we did the podcast, I watched it again last night, and again I find so many things hidden, so many things which maybe I've noticed it before, but now as I'm growing older, I'm seeing different nuances. I'm connecting to different things in the story. I'm finding, and I think that's the beauty of a poignant story like this, and it's got that timeless quality to it, and I think that's what draws me to it. And even yesterday when I was watching it, it hit me on so many different levels again. And I've seen it so many times, but it just hit me on so many different levels again. And I was feeling sad that the movie is getting over. Like I wanted to just go back and start all over again. Like I couldn't wait to go back to start all over again. So that's, I guess, one of the main reasons why I chose this film, because I guess it still has that impact on me. In fact, I'm very, very particular about certain movies, certain pieces of music, which had that kind of impact on me when I heard the music or when I watched the film, that I try my best not to revisit it. I try my best not to go back to it, because I feel it might dilute the impact it had on me. There are some movies like that which I've just not, maybe I've seen it 30, 40 years ago and I've not gone back to it. And because I remember what it felt like when I watched it. And now I feel, what if when I watch it again, it doesn't have that impact on me. So there are some movies I don't. And Thoovanathumbikal, weirdly, is one movie that I just unabashedly, I just keep revisiting. I just keep going back to it, even though I love it so much, and it still has that. In fact, it has like more of an impact every time I watch it.
Yes, beautiful movie, layered. Characters are much complex, and there's so much to chew on, like you said, every time you watch it. I have only seen it twice. So in fact, this was the second time that I watched the movie. So, but I could tell, like you're saying, that every time I'm going to find something new in this particular film. It's a beautiful film, right from the start. Bejoy, how old were you when you first watched the film? And the reason I asked this is because something you mentioned makes a lot of sense to me. I think this movie hits differently at different ages.
So. Yeah. So I was about 8, 9 years old when I watched it the first time with my family, and I don't think it hit me at any level at that point. I couldn't even process. For me, it was a new Mohanlal film that you're watching, and I'm at that age. I'm only looking at action films of Mohanlal and I.B. Shashi. I don't know if you know, there's a director called I.B. Shashi. So he was my favorite director. I used to wait for his film, because his films used to always have like a massive cast and multiple plots and action, and he used to do this really mega projects at that time. So I used to wait for his films. So this film, when I watched it, I guess at that point it didn't really. I was like, okay, it's nice. But then over the years, I guess that repeat viewing to it, and the way we start connecting to those characters, and it's a cult film. Like even now, everybody remembers the names of the characters. Remembers,
right?
They quote dialogues from the film. Even just last week when I was in Cochin, I remember in a dinner, this friend of mine was randomly quoting lines from the film as part of whatever he was talking. The lines from the film were coming up, so it is still so relevant and present in even now. So I guess I'm not alone in the way I feel about this one. There's a lot of captive audience for that film who still connect to it, who still talk about it.
Right. It's part of pop culture, I guess. Over the years, it has become part of pop culture. Bejoy, before we start talking about the film and the scenes and the characters and everything, I just wanted to learn more about that particular phase in Malayalam cinema, the late 80s. So, as far as I know, the cinema of the 80s, especially that of Padmarajan, K.G. George, and Bharatan, was avant-garde. They were trying to do something different. They were trying to push the envelope, while there was also the mainstream cinema. But many people say that during the late 80s, the line between parallel cinema and mainstream cinema was getting blurred. And perhaps that was
fully.
paving the way to, the kind of the wave we are seeing today in Malayalam cinema.
So I think they were the trendsetters for that time, and they, like you said, the lines were completely blurred, which is why, see, for us it was like a new Mohanlal film that you watch. Mohanlal is like the reigning superstar at that point, but he's doing this really out of the box films with Padmarajan, and so did Mammootty sir. I mean, they were all doing, and all the stars at that time who were doing this commercial film were also doing these kind of films. And I mean, I think pushing the envelope is an understatement, because even now I feel, look at the story of the one. It's so bold and brave in its idea and its premise. So they were doing that so effortlessly at that point. And the good thing is, there was acceptance from the audience. The audience also celebrated it, maybe to not to that extent commercially, but still there was an audience for it. And like you said, that paved the way for the way Malayalam cinema got to be known for story-oriented films and very, very relatable, relevant subjects and bold subjects. We were tackling some very interesting, complex themes at that time, and yet packaging it with the stars. Not even like like unknown face. I mean, that was also happening, but the stars themselves were also part of the narrative, and they were supporting it. So it was, I think, truly a beautiful period. Like if I could, I would love to go back to that time, to go and assist and work with people, just to kind of pick their brain, just to see how they were able to do the kind of stuff they were doing.
Very interesting. Yes. We got to talk about Mohanlal and Jai Krishna. So, there is that duality to his character, that's kind of reminiscent of Oscar Wilde's importance of being earnest. And there's this constant conflict, in his mind. One of the interesting things that I found when I watched this 2 days ago was this thing that Padmarajan does, is that we constantly see Jai Krishnan often talking about Radha with Clara, and talking about Clara with Radha. He's talking about woman. And that's so beautiful, because, it's very authentic. It comes out as a genuine, but it shows what's going on inside the man, right? It shows what's the conflict that he's going through. And it's debatable, his maturity, or the way that he's dealing with this things. The thing that he has about, marrying someone, if she happens to be a virgin and all that. So that's also, especially for that time, I guess, I mean, we're talking this about 35 years ago. But what's your take on this, the whole duality of Jai Krishnan?
Yesterday, in when I was watching it, I noticed something. There's a throwaway dialogue when he's talking to his friend in the second half of the film, where he talks about his father. He talks about his father was like a chief justice or something. So Justice someone, I mean, I forget the name. His son did not have the liberty to live his life the way he wanted, but the man I am today, I can. So that one line said so much about who he has become, who he is today. The fact that he had a controlling father, and he had to kind of live his life as per what was expected out of him, and the father's passing away almost kind of liberated him, and he became this other person. He came to his own, and the duality suddenly found an outlet. So at home he was the son that his father would have wanted it to be, and the moment he kind of goes into the city, he just transitions and becomes this other guy. And we see that very early on in the film, and then that gets underlined by his friends, and everybody keeps talking about how he has like a whole plethora of people there who would do anything for him. Like, it's almost like an underworld. He's like an underworld king, though he's not like into crime and thing, but he has that kind of goodwill and respect from all the nefarious group back in the city. So the fact that he found an outlet, and he kind of just celebrated that, and he went all out, and yet when he comes back, he becomes this other guy. And how he's able to, and I think for a long time he's able to balance that, he's able to manage that, and he revels in it, he enjoys that so much. And we see that from that young character who comes in, The audience is the young character, because through the young character, as he gets to know, the audience gets to know what kind of a guy he is. And it's so complex that he's able to live that duality so comfortably till Clara comes into his life. And that suddenly opens another locked part inside him, which then you get to know. So even though he lives life with this duality and revels in it, but he has this very strict moral code about women. Like, he himself is a virgin. He's saved himself for the woman he wants to be with. So all those things you don't expect. That you would think that this guy is a wild guy. He would be doing all kinds of stuff. But then you realize, no,
Right.
he's got this side also, where he's got this whole list of kind of principles that he lives by, which, when in the first interaction, only the first night, he's able to open up and tell her everything. This is how I would want to be. I would want to marry you. And so that shows how, in fact, more than duality, there's another layer to him, where he himself is so vulnerable that he wants to commit. He wants to just be with that woman, and that one night, just that one day that he spends with her, one night, just changes all that outlook for him, for both of them. So, and one article I read, I remember that because of the complexity of the character, because of the way he is, and he's written and he's performed, we as a viewer, we get so, I mean, we are so captivated by that, the surprise of the character and how so the journey is constantly, we are seeing it through his eyes. And as beautiful Clara is, as beautifully she comes in and tells her story and comes in, we actually, to be very honest, there is a bias towards seeing it through only his perspective, because we are only following him and his journey with Clara, and then him with Radha. But we kind of just we touch and go into how Clara looks at this relationship, and how Clara sees this equation blooming and everything. And when I read that, and when I rewatched it, there is so much more that Clara also has to offer. There's so much more that like, I would love to watch that journey, like how we saw Mohanlal's journey.
Yeah, from her perspective.
I would love to see it, because now we get to only hear of it. We get to only see it through whatever little that she's telling us. But her journey is also so interesting, and her journey, how they both that one day changed the lives for both of them. They both got together at a very different point in their life, and from very different backgrounds, and how that one meeting, how that one consummation, that kind of just bound them for life. Even though the film ends with her leaving, I think, but that bond is forever. That is not going to change. I don't think, even if years later, if he has to meet her, that love is not going to change. It's not going to be any lesser. So, and from both sides, that is the beauty of it, I guess. And with his character, like I said, the way he's written so well. Some movies become timeless and all because of all those elements coming together. A character which is written so wild and with so many complexities, and being performed with elan, with such flair by an actor who's kind of firing at that time. He's firing on all cylinders. So that amalgamation just made it fly, and that character became like a cult character. Manardodi Jackson is one for the ages. Everybody, I think you have seen so many versions of it in the last 30 years in different movies. You have seen replicas. You've seen, I think Lal sir himself has done one or two versions of Jayakrishnan. And you see that coming through, shining through. But this was, I think, the OG. I think the trend setting. The character was, but there was no one like him before that. There was no character which comes even close to the kind of person he was. And you even now when you watch, you enjoy the turn. You enjoy that first time when he goes to that the Jew shop and says, he asks for Naranga Vallam. He asks for that Nibu Pani, and he says that Thanda nahi hai tumhare paas, and he gets upset and he says, "I'll take you." So you're wondering, where is this guy going? Why is he behaving like that? And then slowly, as it starts turning, and when he goes to the bar and he orders for Nibu Pani, and slowly the bartender, the drop happens with the bartender. The bartender drops it and he starts laughing, and then everybody in the bar starts laughing, and this young guy is just unaware. So that unraveling is just so beautiful. The way he kind of just slowly opens up, and then you realize, oh my god, this is a very precarious guy. He's not what he seems like. So all that was just fantastic.
Yes, yes, yes. I just wanted to add one more thing about that character. Like we said, that it has a duality to it, but he's a very honest guy. He's a guy of his word. He keeps his
Yeah,
word.
there's a lot of
And
purity in the
right.
way he is.
Yes,
He
yes.
wears his heart on his sleeve and he's super transparent. Like, who would expect? It almost feels wrong that he would talk about that love to his fiance. Like, he's open about it, and at every instant he's just telling her everything. So that just shows that how transparent he is, how pure he is in what how he comes across in life. I mean, despite all the wildness, but there is that purity.
Yeah. And Bijoy, it's funny that when my wife and I were watching this movie 2 days ago, I mentioned to my wife, hey, somewhere this character is kind of like the character from Drishyam, because he has that two sides to him, and again, like you said, he's a pure guy. I mean, he's a guy of his word and principles and all that. But there is also this scheming side to him, that he would
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
lengths to protect his family and so forth. And it's just interesting, how, some like 2 decades or almost 3 decades apart, this fine actor has, kind of tackled these two different roles, which both have these kind of duality shades to it. But
True. Actually, I never thought of Drishyam like that, but yeah, that's true. There is that duality so clearly demarcated. Yes.
and let's talk about Clara. I mean, what a character! I mean, Clara has clarity. She's at peace with the cards that life has dealt to her, and she's also she's at peace with her life's decisions. She also has the maturity in realizing that there's uncertainty in whether Jai Krishnan really loves her. Perhaps he only wants to marry her because she was a virgin, and he feels obliged to marry her, after sleeping with her, because he has this set of principles and so forth. But she's able to see that early on, and so she's a smart, kind of sorted out woman. And as contrasted with Radha. And so I thought Clara is just a fascinating character. I mean, and it's
She's a fascinating
beautifully
character.
portrayed by Sumalatha.
The uncertainty that you speak about, because when he says that I want to marry you, and he's giving him the reasons of why I feel I want to marry you. Because just before that, the conversation is she's talking about, I don't want to be a mistress. You want to just keep me. I don't want to be a mistress. And he says no, and then so that means that's what she's thinking, that he's going to do that with me, and then he says he want to marry you. So that it's almost validating what she felt. Because she felt a connection with him. She wouldn't have done what she did if she didn't feel a connection with him. Initially, I guess she looked at him like, okay, he's my first client and all that. But then the way it kind of played out and the way they kind of connected, I guess she was also unsure, like, am I supposed to be feeling this? And when she sees that he's also feeling it, so it's almost like validation for her. But then that also scares her, and that also she realizes that as much as she's feeling and he's feeling the same, maybe this is something that I it's too much for me to, and because of her background, because of what she's been through, that uncertainty and that fear takes over, and that makes her just bounce. The next day she just disappears, despite feeling so strongly for him. Because obviously later on in life, once she started that journey, she still reaches out to him, and that's almost, I feel like, her wanting to check that what I felt, was that only for that one day. Was it shallow, and was there something to it? If I'm still feeling the need to go see him, does he feel the need to see me too? And that's, and again validation comes when she sends a telegram, he comes to see her, and she realizes nothing has changed, that whatever she's feeling, he is also feeling the same. So I think the second meeting, as much as strongly they feel for the first one, the second meeting kind of seals the deal for both of them. They both realize, no, this is not something we can ever walk away from. Though things have changed. By now, Radha has entered his life. She has
Right.
started her trajectory as, as this call girl kind of thing. So she's been with so many men and so many clients. So they both are on a different trajectory, but they both know that they are stuck. They're bound for. In fact, there is this beautiful line when they are sitting in that on the hill with the house in the background, and they hear this madman yelling.
Oh, yes. The lunatic.
Oh my God. And she says, I wish I was the chain bound to that one thing for life. And I think that summarizes the film for me, because that's the love that she walked away from.
Yeah.
That when she took that call, now she yearns for it. She wishes, and then immediately after that she says, this time you're not asking me to marry you. And he says, what if I do? And he's very nonchalant. He's going through her purse and going through the cards, and he's just very casually says, what if I do? And then she says, but you didn't. So that shows that they both have moved on. As much as they want to be together, but they still have moved on, and they both don't feel that they can be together. And her yearning for that, saying that I wish I was a chain on that man, and just linked to one thing, holding on to one thing. I think that just broke my heart when I watched it last night, and I've seen it so many times, seen the film, but that line just. So I think this time I was waiting on each and every word, I guess. So that line just broke my heart. And that summarized the love story for me. That summarized Clara for me.
Right.
So yeah, she's also a character for the ages. And like I mentioned earlier, we always see it from Jai Krishnan's eyes, but I think the story from Clara's eyes also is equally beautiful. And luckily for filmmakers, or when you read a book, it's like you imagine that entire character's journey the way you imagine. It will be very different from what maybe the writer you are interpreting and imagining it. And now when I'm watching, I'm constantly thinking for her journey also. I'm constantly thinking how she would have, what would have happened with her, with every client that she was with, and she's stuck in these rooms and hotels and everything, but she still pines for that one day that she spent with Jai Krishnan.
Yes. And just going back to that scene with that lunatic chained in the hut, whose moans can be heard, when the chain links rub against his wounds. And, I'm pretty sure that a lot of this is lost in the subtitles, is lost in translation. So I'm pretty sure that it's much more, beautiful and deeper in the actual language. But, I thought that was just a great touch. I mean, like you said, it kind of tells her...
Small thing, but such a lovely touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is heartbreaking. Again, like you said, I mean, it's what she's going through, and she's equating that to what this person is going through, in that poor guy is going through in that hut. Both those scenes, I mean, that scene on the hill, and then the scene where, the beach scene, where they first spend a good part of the night talking, they joke, they confide, their relationship is evolving and probably, getting to a point where it's getting messier. Such a pivotal scene from the film, and such a beautiful scene. So both those scenes, I love those scenes, and especially the one...
I noticed something else yesterday, and I thought, so post the beach scene, there's a song, right? There's a song where you see an entire lifetime of them as a couple. You see an imagination of what their life would be like if they were together. And I was like, we saw La La Land now, and La La Land did that now, but we've been doing it back then. 30 years back, we have done it. And La La Land had that whole sequence, right?
Yes.
What if?
Yes.
But they did that what if again so beautifully in that one song. He's shown an entire life of what if she was married and been with him in his house, how that life would have panned out. And it was beautiful. It was so lovely. But obviously at that time, you're only watching and consuming it like a song and enjoying. But it's actually a tragedy, right? That this would have been that life if they decided to be together, but they never got that chance.
Yes. That now that you mention it, it does ring differently. But I mean, the whole movie can be seen as a tragedy, but it in the sense that and we'll talk about the last scene, where Mohanlal keeps on waving at the train. Train has left, and that kind of really seals the deal that he's essentially head over heels in love with her, even maybe till day. But let's talk about Radha for a bit before we move on to other scenes. She's someone who's probably less mature, a little bit immature, but that makes sense because she's quite young, right? She's still in college.
Right.
So that makes sense. And that's why, she kind of develops this kind of an infatuation for Jai Krishnan. Once she learns that he has, this dual side and he does all these deeds for his friends and everything. And so it's more of an infatuation that slowly kind of starts to, unravel
Build.
into love. Right. So, but what do you make about her character?
But she still had so much agency. She was so strong-headed and she held her own, even despite knowing everything and understanding everything. I think her infatuation just became way more stronger. She, in some deep down part of her, she actually respected the guy for being that honest with her. But then she had that confidence that, okay, fine, I understand the situation. This is what it is. But you go see her and come back. That's it. I don't. Then she will not come. So she already, in her head, it's not like this is a deal breaker. In her head, she's thinking that you have gone through this, you finish it and come back, and now let's start. But when that happens,
He wants
second
closure
time,
on that first before
she wants
she
wants him to have closure. She wants him to have that closure. But when it happens the second time, then she's not able to take it. Then she lashes out and she says, "I don't want to get married." All that. But then again, he tries to give her a salvo by taking her and arranging a register marriage, and that's him also struggling to walk away from. That's not as much as giving her reassurance. It's him trying to reassure himself that no, I have this. I will not go to. I'll meet her, but I'll come back. I want this. So she realizes that also. She says, "No, it's okay." And I think that was in throughout her arc. That was her most important scene in that house outside the register, where she says that if you have to get married, if you have to get do the register marriage, we'll do it any other day. My name will always be with you. Whenever you decide, I'm going to be with you, or I'm not going to get married to anyone. Don't worry about that. But today is not the day. Today you go, and that showed so much that even now she's ready to, like, fine, you go, finish it and come, but you will come. That's her heart saying that you will come back. But I guess the even she's insecure enough to land up at the station, but she wants to see. She wants to see who Clara is. She wants to see whether this guy will actually go. So that's her fears. Despite her giving her the thing, giving him the almost permission to do this, it's still her wanting to see it for her own eyes whether this will. And that was, I think, a very beautiful closure for her as well. And though the movie now when I'm watching, I feel the train goes away, he stands, and they both look at each other, and you think, and the way the music plays out, and all, you feel this is good, but maybe it's not. Maybe maybe what she saw is still. Now this is me interpreting it. Maybe because it's not going to leave him for the rest of his life. It might not leave her for the rest of her life. So whether they will be okay as a couple, we never know.
Right.
But
so there is no closure, in fact. Yeah.
There is no closure in a way, because she realizes that this guy is madly in love with her. If he has to constantly, I mean, he just keeps waving at a train that's already gone. Even anyone seeing that would know that how much he pined for that woman. So yeah,
right.
Radha also a very interesting character, and like you said initially, from having that initial, she's so against him in the beginning. She just dislikes his confidence and arrogance, and from that to that turn of getting infatuated and to reaching here, she has one full complete arc.
Bejoy, let's talk about some of our favorite scenes. I'll just mention this scene very quickly because I just love this scene. Yesterday, 2 days ago, when I was watching it, I went back and watched it again. But the scene I'm talking about is when Mohanlal is writing the letter to Clara.
Oh my God!
As Mother Superior.
Mother Superior.
A great scene. I mean, first of all, just the way that it has been set up, his writing table, there's a pack of 555, matchbox, an ashtray, a pen, and his writing pad. It's raining outside, and what I love about that scene, besides that atmospheric bit, is how, Mohanlal has gone about it. he's putting thought into it. He's enjoying it. He's very much into it, as if,
He's
there's
relishing it.
already, as if there's already
Already.
some connection that he shares with Clara, a person who he has never met or known of until recently. But it's so nicely done. And, that's what a great actor can do, I guess. He can really, put it up
Lift
a
it.
few
Yeah.
notches.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what a
It's like a
beautiful
sign of things to come. That scene sets up the stage for what you're gonna expect. And like you said, so beautifully staged. Be it the score, the rain, the setting, and the thought he puts into writing and becoming Mother Superior, inviting into it. I think all that just, like you said, it's so atmospheric, and it just, you are immediately into the film. You are like waiting for that to unfold. So I think it's masterful in the way it is set up, and that piece of music then becomes the theme for them. It kind of sets up the theme for Jai Krishna and Clara. So again, I think one of the best scenes in the film. And now
yes.
and then that becomes a moniker for him. Then Mother Superior becomes the moniker for him. He gets to be known as Mother Superior. She introduces him as Mother Superior to her husband in the end. So that was such a nice touch. That was such a nice.
Yes.
That means she has no secrets from her husband. He knows everything. So all that was such a sleight of hand. It's so smoothly they've done it. And the husband is also very accepting of it. He's like, oh, okay.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. And
Beautiful.
while we were on the score, we got to talk about Johnson's score. I mean, just a classic
Oh my
film
God.
score, and it does that classic thing, that most of the classic film scores do. That every time you hear it, it brings back key moments from the film, right? In
Yep.
this particular film, it's those close-ups of Sumalatha, that in the rain and everything. That's what
In the
comes
ring,
in front of your eyes every
when
time
the
you
theme
hear
plays
that.
out immediately, yeah. That's what plays out. And Johnson Master used to again revel in this kind of haunting melodies. Even in Padmarajan's earlier film, Namakku Parka Mundri Thopugal, and other films also, uh, Johnson Master's pieces were iconic. Like you said, the moment the piece plays out, it's almost like the whole movie just rings in your head because you see all those key moments just with that one piece of music. And it's a small piece. It'll be like a 1-2 minute piece, a small melody, but played in different variations, but they are just so iconic, so iconic. This one had this piece, and those pieces sometimes used to find their way into songs, but sometimes they don't. They just play as background score. So in Thoovanathumbikal, it never comes in the song. It's only played as in the background. But in Namakku Parka Mundri Thopugal, the piece that was composed as a theme. I don't know if you've seen the film Namakku Parka Mundri Thopugal. Again, I have done a podcast on that film also, by the way. That's also Padmarajan. That's also, again, it's an iconic film. It's very much in the zone of Thoovanathumbikal only. In fact, a lot of people believe that to be a superior film.
Oh
I
wow,
still
okay.
choose Thoovanathumbikal, but it is up there with it. It's equally, and he has this. Padmarajan has this thing of almost having a mythical quality to it. Like he creates this mythical. He almost has this mythical ambience connecting characters together. Even in this, there is almost like a spiritual connector when he's writing as Mother Superior, and there's like one element which is almost mythical about it. And the other film literally had that. It had the both the lovers quoting verses from the Bible. So Namakku Parka Mundri Thopugal is actually a verse from the Bible, and they used to converse with each other through Bible quotes. So that film had that spiritual mythical quality to it, and this one had this mythical quality. In fact, this one also with Jai Krishna and Radha, their constant meeting place is a temple. They meet at a temple, and there is a song about that Onnam Ragam Padi. Vannu Vannu Kandu. That song is also talking about. I mean, it's almost like a spiritual connect that these two found in a temple. So he ties it up very beautifully, in a very subliminal manner. But that spiritual mythical quality is it's a layer which kind of, again, I think adds so much to the narrative. So I know we started talking about music, but we landed up here.
No,
But I
that's fine.
think
Yes.
all those elements, I think, just add so much more to the narrative. Be it Johnson Master's score,
Beautiful score. Yes.
the atmosphere, the staging, all that, I think, just packs a solid punch together.
And the lemonade scene, Bijoy. It's quite a trip to watch those scenes at the Sharabi bar. What a deliciously quaint bar. Probably not too many bars that look like that nowadays. I
Oh,
don't know.
no.
Oh, really?
Kerala, you'll find anytime you go to Kerala, you'll find tons of bars like that, even now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We have a resort in Kannur, and we have a bar which looks like that. So it's very much still
Okay.
that in those ways, a lot of things in Kerala have not changed. So those elements are still the same.
Awesome.
So
When I visit someday, I would love to go there. Yeah.
Sure. You'll every nook and corner in every town you'll find one or two bars like that. So don't stress. It's still very
Rest
much there.
assured, right? Yes.
Yeah.
I love that whole sequence, not only because it shapes of Jayakrishnan's character, but also because of the kind of flow that the scene has. I was reading somewhere that since this movie,
it just progressively gets like, oh my god, it just goes on and on.
It builds up. Yeah. It's like a crescendo. Yeah. Even the scene, towards the end, when that one rowdy guy, throws the beer bottle at the ceiling fan, that also comes out of the left side. You're kind of blindsided by that. And that's also nicely set up, because then, there is a follow-up to it, where we keep on thinking that this guy is the crazy guy and he's going to, slit his throat.
He's going to do something. Yeah. So
but
that's like a setup. He sets it up. It's a proper plant and payoff. But the pimp's character, the Tangal.
Yes.
Now he actually, because of the lemonade thing, when he comes to visit him, Jayakrishan at home, and Jayakrishan mother asking, "What would you like? You like tea, coffee? Can I get you something?" And then Mohanlal says, "I think just get lemonade for him." So that lemonade becomes like a, it's like that's the connect they have, and they both exchange a look. So I thought that was a nice touch that lemonade almost becomes like one element, which is my wild side, So that mention of that is just like a symbol of who I really am. So that was a nice touch. And again, what a terrific character Ranganan was. You would not associate a guy, a pimp like that, with who's, and this guy almost tells him like, you be my elder brother. Like, he looks at him with so much and do this for me. That means he has so much love and respect for this guy who's a pimp. And maybe that guy, because that guy is only looking at it from a business opportunity, but then this emotional connect, the love that Mohanlal has for him, he's not able to, I guess, understand the process, and he's trying his best to connect, because he's trying to disconnect from the business and connect to that man. So I think that equation was also very special, very new. You would not assume or think that these two men also will have a bond like that.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yes. That's also very beautifully done. In fact, in that scene where at his home, where he's telling him that you're like my elder brother. Not
my brother.
He's shocked, but I think Tangal himself is shocked.
He's shocked. You can see it on his face. He's like, oh fuck, what do I do?
So that was pretty cool.
You can see the shock on his face. Yeah. And that's Mohanlal at his vulnerable. He's like, I've lost it. I've gone. It's out of control for me now. That one night has changed for me. So it's a lovely turn.
And Bejoy, going back to the lemonade scene, I was reading somewhere that since this movie, a call for lemonade has taken an entirely new meaning in Malayali pop culture.
Yeah.
So
I told you, there are so many lines, so many elements which are all become part of pop culture. Everybody knows. It's like it's like a nod and a smile when you say Naranga soda. So there is like one, everybody knows, okay. It's like one wink and smile, which is for 30 years now, you know what I mean? And some serious dialogues have turned into like almost like memes in popular culture and references. There is one, my friend, he from Cochin, he has this constant thing of saying, there is a line where the pimp comes to talk to him in the balcony after he's slept with her, and he says that I was the first one for I didn't want to do this. Why did this happen? And why? So he's talking to her, talking to the guy, right? And at one point, Mohanlal says, "I shouldn't have." Like "Vendairunu." He says in Malayalam, "Vendairunu." So that I shouldn't have, that line, just that line, the way he says it, that has become like a joke
That has been memified, yeah.
memified to a crazy extent in all my groups and everything. If anything funny happens, that's the first response. I shouldn't have. Like a vendor. That's such a small thing, right? But can you imagine that one line has attained like a cult status? So there are so many elements from it. Like I said, lemonade. These are all become part of, and we celebrate it. We enjoy it even now. Talking about it. So I think that's the impact of.
That's what great films
like
do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what great films do. It's like Holi Kabe, from Sholay. It's Holi Kabe. It's like
right.
Nobody can ask that question with a straight face. Like even if you genuinely want to know Holi Kabe, you can't say that and not laugh. It's part of our DNA now.
And the motive of rain, an integral part of the movie, something that's there. Yeah. And right from the time when Mohanlal is writing that letter that we talked about to their subsequent meetings, except the last. So again, that's nicely done because...
No, even the second last, she says there's no rain this time. Maybe that's a sign of...
But aren't there clouds in the that time?
Yeah, there are clouds, but there's no rain.
Impending clouds.
Yeah. But she says there's no rain, and maybe that's a sign. That's what she says. It's almost like that's a metaphor for the love is also kind of they have moved away. So then there is no rain. The first time he writes to her, the first time they meet, there is rain. There's so much. The rain is almost part of their union, and then when they have moved on, the rain is kind of missing. So that was, I think, a beautiful touch.
That's a great theme. Yeah.
So much to learn. Yeah, so much to watch and learn. I mean, these are all part of the writing, right? In the writing. Right. It's embedded into how to make the rain a character in the story.
Right.
So it's all part of the DNA of the writing. So there's so much to learn from that. So much to learn.
Right. So Bejoy, my question to you was going to be, like you said, all these movies subconsciously they influence you, right, as a storyteller, as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
But can you think of any specific examples that from this movie that have influenced you on your work? That have been part of your movies or your writing?
I'm sure so many things.
Right.
Knowingly, I will never borrow. Knowingly, I will never do it. Unknowingly, I'm sure, because unrequited love is something it's a trope, or it's a genre that I am just heavily attracted to. It's something that in some way or the other, it can be between two lovers. It can be a different equation between father and son. But unrequited love is something I find myself drawn towards, no matter what. And this is a classic example of unrequited love.
Yes.
Right? It's a beautiful portrait and beautiful story of unrequited love. So it has definitely found its way into so many of my. I'm sure. I mean, David is a clear example.
Yes, I was going to ask. Right.
So that has the fisherman story was about unrequited love. The gangster story was unrequited love because he craved for that father's connection. So those are elements. I think it keeps finding its way. My last work, I think, Taish had this guy who was, in fact, I would say Taish had a very strong homage, I would almost think of, to Thoovanathumbikal, where he leaves everything. This gangster Pali, he wants to walk away from his world of crime. He wants to walk away from everything because now he wants to start a life with the woman that he loves, and now he doesn't care about. So it's almost like Jai Krishnan going to Clara and saying that, "Fuck everything, I want to be with you. No, I don't care." So it was that moment in Taish where he goes. And everybody around him is saying, like, why are you doing this? Why are you walking away from all this? He said, I don't care, because now I can see my life with her. I don't care about anything and anyone anymore. But when he goes there, it's the tables are turned. She has done something to kind of undo whatever he was doing. So, and now he can't be with her. So that was the tragedy. There also, it's still as much as he sacrificed everything for her, he still couldn't be with her. So that was, I guess, somewhere connected to Manal
Right.
only. I'm sure, because that feeling, that emotion comes from a place of loss, of tragedy, and I think that's something I love to revisit again and again.
Right. And craft-wise, when you saw this movie again, recently, what are some of the things that jumped out?
The scene that you mentioned about the Mother Superior, I mean, that's pure craft. That's pure craft.
Superb scene, yes.
You think about it. There is nothing happening in the scene. It's a guy sitting down to write a letter. It's as simple as that. And you can stage it in such a normal way, but the way he staged it, the way he created that atmosphere, the way the music played out, the way the actor, everything just coming together, it's pure craft. It's almost like he's written the film, and he's kind of just, can you imagine how it must have played out in his head when he decided to stage it? So it's that high up there in his head that he wants that scene to have that kind of impact, and he goes all out for it and just creates that for you, and it delivers on all levels. It just hits it out of the park, and you can see that consistently in all his films. There will be this iconic staging of scenes, unexpected in the way, and this will be simple scenes, simple, and it's not just in the way he's moving the camera or anything. It's also in the way a character says a dialogue. It's also that the cut of the impact of that dialogue, things like that. I think he really, and then how the score suddenly lifts it up. So that's all. There's a clear vision for it. He's not doing it on the fly. There's a clear vision that how this scene should deliver. So and that's, I guess, obviously when I watched it, then I couldn't process all that. But my respect for the film, my respect for his craft only grew by leaps and bounds. As I became a cinephile, I became a filmmaker, I could appreciate all this way more. And I still do. There is so much to learn from. Like I said, I was in the writing. There's so much to learn on how to effectively convey the scene, without diluting it even 1%. So yeah, this is tremendous amount of craft. In fact, I remember discussing some other Malayalam films with Mani sir, my mentor, and we were talking about these classics in Malayalam films and everything. I was talking about how some of the directors were just so good, and then Mani sir looked at me and said that no, the films are good, but there's a clear distinction between some filmmakers who were able to just deliver the story. The story was just so strong and potent that they couldn't go wrong. They could, if they just staged it the way it was, and it fired, and they had good actors, it just worked. But the craft was missing. Some of them, the craft was missing, and it's only on the power of the story and the actors that the film worked. But in case of Padmarajan sir, it was different. It was the story, everything. Like, story was working, the staging was working. There's the actors are just firing, everything. It's a display of kind of craft and storytelling coming together. So there was a clear distinction that, and Manisha told me to revisit. He told me to watch those films again, and you will see the difference. And now, like I said, because now I'm a filmmaker, I'm able to kind of not just judge them for what they are, but at least you're able to decode it better. You're able to understand what was working for it, what was not working for it. So those things, I think I'm right now, I'm able to appreciate it more. I'm able to distinguish more, for sure.
Bejoy, this is a side question. Which films with Mani Ratnam did you work on?
Since Guru, I worked on all the films except for think, except for Kadal. Kadal, I couldn't work because I was working on my film. But since Guru, I worked on almost every film.
That must be some experience.
Working on the next one also.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Maybe we need to do one on Iruvar someday. So I know that.
Oh man.
So we will definitely do one on Iruvar someday when you have time.
These are films like Iruvar, Thoovanathumbikal, and the other list like Ardha Satya. These are films.
Yes.
That I revisit purely from a learning perspective. Like when you want to just, you're kind of lost in your writing and lost in the way you're making films, and you want to kind of just you want to revisit these classics just to kind of, it's almost like going back to school and just watching classic pieces of work just to understand storytelling, how to make your storytelling better. So you just watch these films, you kind of sponge off them and learn from them. So these are films I watch to learn.
Right. It's crazy how many times I've heard this from guests on the podcast who are filmmakers, that whenever they're stuck, so like a writer's block or a filmmaker's block, a director's block, the best remedy for that is going back to the classics. I mean, it might not have anything to do with what the space that you're in currently, but if you just go back to the classics, it just somehow the pieces just start to fall together. It's magical. I mean, it's like, it's almost like a magical remedy, that movies are so good.
It angers me, and it inspires me, and it angers me so much sometimes when I'm watching like good films. You feel like so inept. You're like, what the hell are you doing? Look at this how phenomenally they're working. So, and I think I need that as fuel to kind of get going, So yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, it works for a lot of filmmakers. We're just revisiting some good pieces of work, definitely.
Anything else, Bejoy, that you would like to add about the film?
I want to talk about one thing, which I had actually tweeted about long time back about Thoovanathumbikal. And this is it's crazy. It's a very, I think it's a very interesting piece of trivia. But Thoovanathumbikal released on July 31st or July 13th, 1987. And Gulzar Saab's Ijazat.
Oh, yes.
Released 8th of July, 1987. The same month, both the films released. Gulzar Saab slightly few days earlier than Thoovanathumbikal. And they both have the same ending. The climax is the same, exactly the same setting, same. Here it is Soman coming as Moni Joseph as the husband, and there it's Shashi Kapoor who comes as the husband. It's just identical. The context is different. That's a husband-wife meeting and all that, but the climax is the same. And it's so, and both the climax, it's such a heart, gut-wrenching climax. It's a beautiful climax, and it's so identical. I just feel either it's just too much of a coincidence. How is that possible that both such phenomenal filmmakers had the same kind of ending? So then it made me think, were they both inspired by something else? Was it Brief Encounter, or was it something else that they were inspired by? They both thought of it like that, and it kind of worked better into the narrative.
Could be,
I think Brief Encounter also had a similar setting and all that. So that used to always fascinate me, that how and the fact that they both released in the same month and they both became such iconic films over the years.
Yes. So and rain is also a common motif between
both.
Yes.
Both so many elements.
Yes.
And again, there also it's the other woman, and it's the dynamics is also a bit similar.
Right. Very interesting point. Yes. I remember. I mean, somebody had mentioned this to me when we did a podcast on Ijazat a few months ago, and I think that time somebody had replied to me saying that there is a similar Malayalam film, and I said yes, I watched it, and they said it's rain and a man and two women, to put it simply, But that's a very interesting point. Bejoy, finally, we are going to play a game I call Shoot, where I'll ask you simple questions and you will shoot back answers. So sort of a rapid fire round. Ready?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. An Indian filmmaker whose films you eagerly await.
Mani Ratnam.
A deceased filmmaker you wish you had a chance to assist.
Mohanlal.
Oh, wow. Okay. Favorite Mohanlal film?
Hey, you can't do
that. Just one. Doesn't have to.
No, there are too many. Can't. No, I will not answer this question. That's not fair. Too many. Yeah. Mohanlal, Mammootty, there are too many of them. Too many of them that I just can't.
Okay, just the first one that comes to your mind.
Chengol.
Favorite Govind Nilani film?
Adsatya, Drokal, almost on the same edge for me, but Adsatya still trumps over Drokal.
Yes. Favorite Mukulanand film?
Mahasangram.
Oh, wow, man. You caught me there. Off guard. Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen that film in years, though. I should watch it again.
I love that film. I watched it again 2 days back. I was watching it. I enjoy it. It's like a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah. I do the same with Agnipath and Hum, especially Agnipath. So
Agnipath, yeah, close second, but Mahasangram. Agnipath mainly because of Bachchan and Mughal together.
Yes.
But still Mahasangram.
Okay. Now, again, similar question. So you can just tell me one favorite Mammootty film.
Oh man, too difficult. You can't.
No, it doesn't have to be the most favorite. Just one favorite that you keep going back
Sugrudam.
to.
Sugrudam.
Okay.
Sugrudam and Taniyavartanam I keep going back to.
Most underrated Mani Ratnam film, in your opinion?
Most underrated
Yes.
Mani film. Though it did receive a lot of acclaim and everything, but I think still Kannathil Muthamittal deserved way more. Great
film. Yes. Definitely deserves more love. One film of yours which deserved more love, in your opinion?
All my films, I feel like deserve more. That's like my constant tragedy within me. I feel like, अरे यार इसको और प्यार मिलना चाहिए था.
No, but one Taish. But Taish was actually fairly widely acclaimed, right?
Or I did get a lot of acclaim, but I feel
was Taish released in the theaters? It was on OTT, right?
That's the thing.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It was COVID times, so it was OTT and
right.
on Z5.
Good film.
I just feel,
yes.
Yeah. I now I can say I felt if it was on a Netflix or Amazon, it would have got more love. That's what I feel. It needed a bigger platform, I feel.
Okay. The last
Z guys are not going to buy any film from me now.
No, I'm sure they are. The last Indian film that blew you away.
Last Indian film that blew me away?
Yes.
Pedro. New filmmaker. Watch out for him. He's outstanding. Taish, I think his name is.
Yes.
Outstanding.
A genre that you would like to explore with Fahad?
With Fahad?
Yes.
I would want to do a very, I think, solid drama.
Solid drama. Okay. Yeah. Okay. One classic which you would love to reimagine?
I came pretty close to it once. I almost did a reboot of Parinda. So
oh, wow.
Something I came very close to doing a reboot of it. So, yeah.
Okay. And one B film that you really love?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can call it a B film. Manmohan Desai's Naseeb we spoke about. I don't know if
that's not a B film.
It's a B film or not.
That's one of my favorite films.
It's one of my favorite films. It's my favorite Manmohan Desai film.
Absolutely. It's I love it more.
Unbelievably ambitious for its time, and the way he mounted it's unbelievable. Even now when I look at it, I feel like, how did he do what he did? It's outstanding.
And that action is to die for.
Yeah, phenomenal. And a lot of the action, Bachchan are doing it himself. It's not like stuntman and all that.
No stunts. Yes.
Crazy. A lot of people ask, my inspiration of doing these high-speed action sequences in Shaitan all come from Naseeb. Naseeb had this phenomenal chunk, the underground garage action scene.
Oh, man.
It was a normal action scene, but suddenly it went into one slow-mo thing. I was blown away. I used to just keep watching that on loop. The only reason I got attracted to doing slow-mo action was because of Naseeb.
Yes. Great film. I love even the opening credits. I mean, where the name just like pops into all those languages and freeze frames.
Yeah. After the guy drops into the water, right? The water drop karke superb. In Urdu and Hindi and English. Fantastic.
Great. That was great, Bejoy. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. I learned a lot about this beautiful movie from you. And
it was a fun chat. I love talking about films that I love. So this was a great opportunity for me to address and talk about. And I still feel there's so much more I can talk about Thoovanathumbikal. It's never enough. But I'm glad I got an opportunity like this. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bejoy. If you liked the episode, do consider supporting the show. Your support will help me continue creating content like this. You can find the link for supporting the show in the show notes and on the podcast website. Also, do share this episode on Twitter, Insta, or Facebook. And do subscribe, rate, and review the pod wherever you listen to your pods. You can follow me on Twitter and Insta at loveofcinemasf8. Feel free to reach out there or by email with your comments, feedback, and suggestions. You can find my email in the show notes. That's the episode. This is Himanshu signing off. And as always, thank you for listening to the Love of Cinema podcast.